Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 45th Canadian Business Hall of Fame induction ceremony and celebration. What a beautiful video and choir that was. And it brings us here and home tonight to celebrate great Canadians. It is my pleasure to once again host this amazing and important evening where we recognize the CEOs and business leaders who've been instrumental in building industries, our economy, great Canadian companies, and world-class brands. These individuals have impacted so many lives by providing job opportunities, wonderful careers, and mentorship. It's an honor for us to come together and recognize their contributions to our country, Canada. This room is filled with dignitaries, members of the Order of Canada, business titans, charity partners, family and friends, and junior achievers. Tonight, we celebrate 4 outstanding entrepreneurial Canadian business leaders. They have transformed industries and have left an enduring mark on the economy, putting our country on the world business stage. They have championed philanthropic causes, helping countless Canadians, built teams, and developed talent. They have demonstrated agility, vision, and leadership. The inductees are an inspiration to us all and are extraordinary role models for the next generation. This is now my 4th year hosting, and when I was first asked, I thought, what could be better than celebrating our country's top business leaders and programs that inspire youth to achieve their potential? 2 items near and dear to my heart. The Canadian Business Hall of Fame was established 45 years ago, and importantly, this annual induction ceremony and celebration supports the mission of Junior Achievement Canada to develop and deliver programs that inspire and prepare young people for success. Tonight, we honor the legacies of today's business leaders and pave the way for the leaders tomorrow. One of the aspects I love about this evening is hearing the inductees' stories, where they came from, what inspired them, how they operate then and now, and what led to their success. Tonight, we celebrate 4 unique visionary leaders, their success, and contributions to our country. Later this evening, our incoming Chancellor, Jim Leach, will welcome Louis Audet, Jay Hennick, Stan Marshall, and Prem Watsa as companions to the Canadian Business Hall of Fame. Jim takes the reins from Chancellor Janice Fukakusa, who unfortunately is unable to be with us this evening. Thank you, Jim, for being with us, of course. And Janice, of course, has also presided over the Canadian Business Hall of Fame Selection Committee for 3 years. She's been a guiding force on the CBHF Selection Committee. Her vision and steadfast leadership as Chancellor is greatly appreciated, and we thank Janice for her years of service. Stan, Jay, Prem, and Louis join an illustrious group of women and men who have previously been inducted as companions. We have among them some of us tonight. Please stand and stay standing while I introduce you, and kindly hold your applause until all companions are introduced. Tonight, Tony Errol is joining us, Jack Cockwell, Anthony Fell, Monique Leroux, Kaylin Rovanescu, and Edward Sunshine. If we missed anyone, please stand as well so we can recognize you as well. Please join me in giving all of our companions a warm round of applause. We also want to take a moment to recognize those CBHF companions who have passed away since our last gathering. They are with us in spirit, and their immeasurable contributions to Canadian business and to those who knew him, knew them, and worked with them not be forgotten. And of course, tonight would not be possible without our important sponsorships that we really depend on. It's key to the success of this event. Those who generously sponsor the Canadian Business Hall of Fame, you make this celebration possible, and your contributions fuel JA Canada's mission. So we give a very grateful thank you to our companion sponsors, Cogeco, Fairfax Financial Holdings Limited, the Jay and Barbara Hennick Family Foundation. Our advocate sponsors, Air Canada, Colliers, First Service, Fortis, TD Bank. Our legacy video sponsor, National Bank, and our media partner, the Globe and Mail. And all the sponsors and guests joining us tonight. Very much a big thank you. Again, you really do help fuel the mission of JA Canada, and you will see some of what that money goes to and all the programs in one really interesting young woman who's going to be coming up and talking about her experience a little bit later this evening. Just for a few little housekeeping details, at your place setting, you will see an event card. In it, you will find the evening's agenda, dinner menu, and a QR code, as well as a link that will take you to the CBHF Digital Program Guide, which includes a message from our Prime Minister, the profiles of this year's inductees, and also, importantly, a complete listing of all companions, as well as acknowledgements from our sponsors and those who have donated in honor of the companions. The digital guide also includes links to the special CBHF and JA features in the Report on Business magazine and also the Globe and Mail newspaper. And you can pick up a complimentary copy of the magazine and newspaper at the event check-in table at the end of the evening. And in addition to the digital archive, you're also invited to walk the Business Hall of Fame's permanent installation in Brookfield Place. You will also see that we are recording tonight's celebration, which you can access in the days to come. You can just follow CBHF on social media for highlights and news. And of course, if you have any questions this evening, you can visit the event check-in just outside this room, and a JA member will be happy to assist you. And now we invite you to further acquaint yourself with your fellow table guests. I know there's so many people in this room know each other from business over the many, many years and are friends. So enjoy as we accept our first course created by the executive chef and our friends here at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre. We'll take a 15-minute pause. Enjoy.
Good evening, honored guests and friends. Thank you for joining us tonight to recognize and celebrate the 2024 inductees of the Canadian Business Hall of Fame. The CBHF recognizes Canada's most successful business leaders, those who have elevated the Canadian economy, contributed to our communities, who serve as role models and inspiration for the next generation of entrepreneurs, our junior achievers. This event fuels JA Canada's mission and impact via our network of offices across the country that reach hundreds of thousands of students each year. Junior Achievement has been operating in Canada for 65 years, inspiring and educating youth on the topics of financial literacy, work readiness, and entrepreneurship. We help youth develop skills to plan their careers, become financially independent, ignite their entrepreneurial spirit, and gain confidence with skills for success in a complex and rapidly changing economy. We're so very proud of our JA youth. They're spirited, resourceful, committed, and remind us every day of the transformational impact of JA programming and the boundless potential of youth. JA programs are provided at no charge and coordinated in partnership with local school systems, donors, and thousands of volunteers. Canada was the second country to establish Junior Achievement, and it has grown to become a global movement, now in over 100 countries, under the strategic management of JA Worldwide. Tonight, we hear from legends in business about their keys to success. And this caused me to reflect on the factors that contributed to JA's success in Canada. The first was adaptability. JA started in Canada with one program. It's evolved now to over 25, yielding more than 340,000 learning experiences each year for youth in elementary, middle, and high school. We further adapted to variable learning styles by modifying programs to be delivered via print materials or online virtually, and added an option for students to participate outside of the classroom via self-directed programs. We adopted technology to ensure JA is accessible to all communities, including remote and underserved, and develop new programs to ensure that we continue to be relevant to the current generation of learners. A survey by Deloitte cited that 3 out of 4 C-suite executives believe their companies lack the right workforce composition and skill sets to succeed into the future. We believe JA can be an upstream solution to address this need. Our programs are designed to equip youth with skills to succeed in the future of work: communication, teamwork, problem solving, resilience, and well-being, among others. skills that will help them become tomorrow's innovators, business developers, and leaders. The second success factor for JA in Canada is support, both time and treasure. Without financial and volunteer contributions from organizations and individuals, JA would be unable to impact the many young lives that it does each year. And only a small fraction of our revenue is via government funding. So corporate individual donations have a direct impact on our mission. I want to extend my personal gratitude to those supporters who fund our innovation, our program development, and those who engage their colleague base to volunteer to ensure JA programs remain free and accessible for Canadian students. Two other success factors for JA are leadership and good governance. JA is fortunate to attract talented people who authentically are committed to the JA mission of helping youth succeed. And this fortune continues at the board of directors level. Overseeing strategy, our boards of directors across Canada have been a quiet but critical element to JA's success for the past 65 years. Many are in the room tonight. I thank all for their contributions, and I'd like to briefly recognize one shining example. Dawn de Lima has led our national board of directors for the past 8 years. On top of her demanding executive day job and in the energy sector, she's led the JA Canada board as a volunteer with skill, humility, and a committed resolve to help JA improve and expand for the benefit of Canadian youth. You'll hear from Dawn shortly, but I wanted to share that she's unfortunately ending out her term as JA Canada Director in a few months. So I hope you will join me expressing our collective appreciation for her leadership and dedication to JA and the CBHF. Another great leader I'm fortunate to work with is the CEO of JA Worldwide. Ashish Advani joined JA 9 years ago and has driven change to energize our organization, undertaking a complete brand renewal and uniting our 100 member nations under a focused strategy for innovation and growth. And the results are coming to bear. For the past 5 years, JA Worldwide has been recognized as one of the top 10 NGOs in the world. And now for 3 years in a row, JA has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. We're pleased he could be here with us tonight, so please join me in welcoming the CEO of JA Worldwide, our global leader, and my dear friend, Ashish Advani.
Thank you, Scott, for that very generous introduction. I get to stand up here and take credit for all the great work that Scott's doing. Let me just, I don't think we actually got a chance to really recognize you, Scott. Given what we've gone through in Canada through a pandemic and now reaching over 300,000 student learning experiences, the highest ever, I believe, in Canada. Let's do a round of applause, please, for Scott. So Scott mentioned the Nobel Peace Prize nomination. What does JA have to do with peace? I get a chance to travel a lot. This week I was in Jordan. I just arrived this morning. And last week I was in Pakistan, giving speeches just like this, explaining the connection between our work and peace. And one of the things I'm most proud of is that we've been able to bring energy and attention to the connection between economic empowerment of youth, prosperity, and peace. Because when young people develop the self-belief and self-confidence to think of themselves as capable of creating jobs for themselves and others and having economic agency, they don't get disillusioned, they don't suffer from youth unemployment, and they lean into a life of prosperity. You can't have peace without prosperity, and you can't have prosperity without youth economic empowerment. So I went through JA when I was a kid, actually here in Toronto. I grew up in Scarborough. I'm not sure if Scott mentioned that, but I grew up in Scarborough. So this is in many ways coming home. I spoke at this event about 7 years ago. So this is a full circle moment for me. And I went through JA when I was in junior high school. So I went to junior high school at Sir Ernest Macmillan Junior High School, and I went to high school at UTS, University of Toronto Schools here in Toronto. And I will tell you from that experience that being a student leader, a CEO of a student business, changes the way you think about yourself. What it did for me is it made me think of myself as an entrepreneur. It made me think of myself as capable of being a job creator one day. And I went on to do some entrepreneurial things and ran some companies. And I credit that early experience, because when you reach a young person at the time of their life where they're deciding who they are and who they can become, you can truly change their life trajectory. I remember mentors coming to me and saying, I see you have like sparks in the way you talk. And I thought, geez, if, I've heard that from my parents, but having a stranger tell me that, it changes the way you think about yourself. And, JA operates now in, as Scott mentioned, over 100 countries, 118 countries now. And we operate in parts of the world that are more challenging than perhaps the places that you all live in. So for example, we operate in China and Hong Kong, we operate in Israel and Palestine, we operate in Ukraine, where just this year, the Ukrainian government approved our programs being in Ukrainian schools. And I get to stand up and make speeches in great events such as this, but really the recognition of the Nobel Peace Prize nomination, the recognition of these other accolades is because of the hard work of many staff members and many volunteers. So we have over 500,000 teachers and volunteers who deliver our programs, and over 3,700 staff, and over 6,600 board members. And these types of metrics show you that this is an organization that actually is very cost effective. The ratio of our staff to our volunteers and board members should give you a sense of how cost effective we are. In fact, we have one board member, we have many board members in this room, I know, from across JA, but one board member who's on the global board, who's on the board of governors. I don't know where she's sitting, but if you could all put your hands together and recognize Zabine Hirji, who's on the global board of governors. Please stand up, Zabine, so we know where you are. There you are. Thanks, Sabine. Thank you so much for your service. It's because of the time, treasure, and talent of board members like you and board members like Dawn that we're able to do what we do. So really, really thank you. So I've shared a number of numbers with you. I want to leave you with three numbers that I'd like you to take with you. We're going to show a video about JA in a second, but I would like you to really focus on these three numbers: 70, 27, and 12. 70 is the percentage of JA company program kids. So that's the same program I did, the same program that a lot of the kids who are going to be speaking here tonight have done. That program in high school where you actually get to build a real business. 70% of these kids around the world are building businesses that are focused on sustainability and solutions to climate change. That is a shocking number. We have about 500,000 of these young people around the world doing this program. And for 70% of them to be doing this, I'm not sure how you feel about this, but it really gives me hope for the future. If you think about the policy solutions and government solutions to climate change, that will only go so far. And we see at events such as COP what happens when we can't move fast enough. And it's because of entrepreneurs and innovators that we're actually going to be able to address climate change. So 70 is the first number. The second number is 27. 27 is the percentage of all of you adults in this room who believe that your kids will do better than you financially. That's less than a third of you. That's pathetic. It's actually quite sad. And that number is from the UNICEF Childhood Project, where they did this study looking at high-income countries all over the world, and 27% is the average. So from my perspective, that's projecting negative energy on young people. And I'm hoping that when you see the great student speakers tonight, and when you do volunteer for JA programs, your confidence and hope in the future will go up, and you will want to raise that number. Young people themselves believe that number is much higher, so at least that gives you a sense of hope. In some countries, that number is twice what you believe. And I want to see that happen in Canada as well. So the second number was 27. The last number is 12. And 12 for me is because of the power of being able to tell young people that you actually care and believe in them. So for me, I was in Saudi Arabia, for example, and I met this young woman named Almaha who went through a JA program. She was wearing a niqab where I could see her eyes. So not a burqa, but I could see her eyes. And her eyes lit up when she was presenting about finance and numbers. Her eyes just lit up when she was talking about gross margin and how much her student business had grown. She was a CFO of her student business. And I remember the story so much because I came up to her afterwards and I said, hey, you have a real knack for numbers. I was really impressed with your presentation. And I think you should consider studying finance if you haven't thought about it. And then she wrote me this long email on LinkedIn afterwards, about a week afterwards, saying nobody had ever encouraged her to pursue her career in finance. Nobody ever told her that that was something that she could do. So she ended up doing that, and she kept in touch with me. She ended up working for a Big Four accounting firm, not the one at the table of Zabin's sitting at, another one of the Big Four. And she ended up thriving and doing an MBA in Europe and is now back in Riyadh. I saw her earlier this year, and I'll tell you, watching her story based on just that one positive comment encouraging her leads me to believe, and I've got so many of stories such as this around the world from volunteers saying nice things to young students. If you have the chance to say something nice, something encouraging to a young person, it could change their life trajectory. Hey, you're gonna be a leader. Hey, you're gonna be really, really effective as an entrepreneur. You could be a job creator one day. These types of small comments can build confidence and self-belief more than you know. So the reason I picked the number 12 is I encourage you to do it once a month. Once a month. It costs nothing. It takes less than 5 minutes for 12 students. I guarantee it'll change 12 lives, but it'll also make you a happier person as it's done for me. It'll give you hope in the future, and hopefully it'll also empower you to think differently about your power in the world. So 3 numbers, 70, 27, and 12. And as you watch this video, I encourage you to think of those 3 numbers and reflect. Thank you so much for your time.
Good evening. I'm just going to comment, Ashish, on one tidbit you said that was really important to me, and that's if we could get our children to earn more money than us, we can get them off the family payroll. That's another topic altogether, but I appreciated the sentiments. So good evening. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to address you this evening. Scott mentioned earlier that I will soon conclude my board service with JA Canada. It has been a tremendous 8-year journey and one of the most rewarding volunteer commitments of my life. In the months ahead, JA Canada will welcome a new chair, and our board is also preparing for the rotation of key committee chairs, one of whom is integral to this evening's proceedings. This is Gary Smith's last year as chair of the CBHF Governance Committee. Gary, where are you? Gary, just stand up. There we go. Gary has been the interface between CBHF Selection Committee and Junior Achievement Canada for several years now. Gary You have preserved the integrity of the order and helped to take CBHF to new heights. Thank you for your years of service. You always remind us that this annual event is about rallying the business community for the benefit of students. And on that note, my remarks this evening are inspired by the theme of community. We all know the famous proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. At JA, we know it takes a community to equip a generation. It takes a community of like-minded partners and donors, many represented here this evening. From RBC, CIBC, TD, the Zurich Foundation, Amazon, KPMG, Fairstone, TC Energy, Deloitte, Avante, our Economic Achievers Society donors, and countless others whose contributions to JA represent an investment in youth futures. And a community of passionate educators who welcome JA into classrooms and who guide students on their learning journey. Teachers are the gateway to learning, and we salute them for all of the profound impact they have on students each and every day. In addition, we require a community of dedicated professionals, dynamic, hardworking staff, board members, and champions steering the strategy that is foundational to JA's good governance and scale. And finally, critical to JA's experiential learning is the community of volunteers who deliver programs and mentor students across our country every day. The volunteers inspire us all and make JA programs uniquely impactful, not only giving time and knowledge as facilitators, but sharing real-life experiences and helping students contextualize the concepts and build new skills. And just as tonight we award iconic business leaders for serving as role models for our youth, we also annually honor 2 exceptionally dedicated members of JA's community of volunteers. The Royden Richardson National Volunteer Awards are named in memory of Royden Richardson, a beloved longtime JA volunteer. Royden lived by the idea that those who can make a difference have a responsibility to do so. We are pleased to have members of Royden's family joining us tonight. Beverly and Quinn Richardson, can you please stand up? Thank you. It adds even more meaning to these special awards to have you with us, so thank you very much. The awards recognize volunteers whose participation in and lasting contribution to JA and its programs has immeasurably furthered the aims and objectives of JA Canada. Our first awardee is Alan Hill from JA Northern, Eastern, and Ontario region. Our second awardee, who we're fortunate to have in attendance, is Shad Smareka. Shad, where are you? Where is Shad? Okay. So Shad and Alan, we thank you for all that you do for us. It does not go unnoticed, and it is greatly appreciated. Together, our community of donors, educators, professionals, and volunteers make up one JA, united in a common goal to unleash the boundless potential for our youth. Now, you will hear from one of our outstanding youth, Nicole Matthew, the CEO of Wonder, the 2023 JA Company of the Year winner. She is a first-year engineering student at McMaster University and is working as a supply chain specialist with PepsiCo. I was impressed with Nicole's LinkedIn profile, where she expresses, "The art of business strategy and entrepreneurship inspires me." On that note, please welcome Nicole.
Good evening, everyone. It's truly an honor to address you tonight as we celebrate the inductees Louis Audet, Jay Hannick, Stanley Marshall, and Prem Watsa. My name is Nicole, and I'm a student participant in JA's company program, and I'm so thankful to be here today to speak to you about my experience in the program, in which teams of high school students spend 18 weeks building and operating a company from scratch. I joined the program nearly 5 years ago, and it has been an amazing journey. Growing up, I first heard about the company program through my older brother. He would come home from his JA meetings with large sales quotas to fulfill, and like any sibling, I was determined to sell more than him, even though I was still too young to be in the program myself. Ever since then, I waited for the opportunity to be in JA. And when the wait finally ended, I tried my hand at different leadership positions in sales, marketing, and sustainability until finally taking my shot at president last year. Having 4 years of junior achievement knowledge to leverage helped me gain the necessary tools I needed for success. During my time as president, our company, Wonder, created bracelets that were more than just accessories. They were symbols of our planet's wonders. Made from recycled glass and lava beads, each bracelet represented a unique part of our world. From the tallest mountains to the deepest seas, our wonders represented Mount Everest, the Coral Sea, the Amazon rainforest, and the Sahara Desert. But what made these bracelets truly special was our partnership with 5 different nonprofit organizations. With each sale, a portion of the money went to the associated charity dedicated to preserving the theme of that specific bracelet. We ended up with a 230% return on our investment, with 15% of our revenue donated to our charities. Our efforts didn't go unnoticed. In Central Ontario, we won the Company of the Year in Social Enterprise Award, the Gary and Joanne Remy Award for Best CSR, and the Team Challenge Award. After winning the title Canadian Company of the Year, we proudly represented Canada at the international level in Argentina. I remember sitting in the plane on the way to Argentina and seeing the Amazon rainforest, one of our wonders, below us, and realizing how far we had come. As one of the top 20 teams in the Americas out of over 4,000 teams, it was a joy to represent Canada on the international stage. This once-in-a-lifetime opportunity changed my life. I made so many new, lifelong friends from different places and learned a lot about innovation. One of my new friends from Uruguay and I were talking about our JA experience, and he told me, "I never thought that JA would take me to Argentina talking to some Canadian in English." Laughing, I agreed. I never once thought that I would meet so many people from all over the world. And I think this really goes to show the universal company program experience and the limitless opportunities JA gives you. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to JA for providing us with the platform to learn, grow, and make a real impact, and to Cognizant, our team sponsor. Thank you to all of our advisors whose wisdom has been invaluable to us every step of the way, and to all of you gathered here tonight. Thank you for believing in us. We couldn't have done it without your support. At JA, we learned the importance of entrepreneurial leadership, the ability to innovate, adapt, and lead with integrity. These are the qualities embodied by the inductees that we honor tonight. Mr. Zaudet, Hannick, Marshall, and Watsa, your stories are truly, truly inspiring, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn from you. Tonight, we celebrate not just your achievements, but the profound impact you've had on our communities, and for making my dreams possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicole. It's been a pleasure just even getting to know you a little bit tonight at our table. And I know you'll go very far and have already, and we look forward to seeing where that takes you. Well, now we have arrived at the time to honor the inductees. We are grateful to the selection committee whose commitment to recognize greatness has brought us the 4 outstanding inductees who we celebrate tonight. It is my pleasure to welcome Jim Leach, Chancellor Emeritus of Queen's University, to address the inductees on behalf of Janice and the selection committee.
Thank you very much for your warm welcome. Bonsoir à tous et à toutes. I begin by expressing my appreciation to our selection committee, many of whom are companions themselves, who have donated their time and invested in the Canadian Business Hall of Fame. You are powerful stewards for business leadership recognition, and it is a privilege to serve amongst you. And collectively, we thank Korn Ferry, our selection committee partner. Your guidance and oversight of nominations is a tremendous service. We made our first inductions to the Canadian Business Hall of Fame back in 1979. So tonight's ceremony continues this now 45-year tradition of recognizing and celebrating business leadership excellence. CBHF celebrates the lifetime achievements and the legacy of Canada's foremost business leaders. The Order of the Business Hall of Fame is the highest honor for business leadership in Canada. Inductees are recognized for their vision and leadership, their national and global economic impact, civic engagement, and philanthropy. So in accepting this award, our inductees commit to serving as role models for Canada's future leaders. Our 2024 inductees have made their marks in diverse industries. Our first inductee has led his family business through major transformation and expansion while navigating an ever-changing industry. Louis Odette is revered for leading Cogeco to become a leading North American service provider and paving the way for next-generation leadership. Our second inductee has taken the business of residential property management and commercial real estate investment management to global heights. Jay Hennick's success stemmed from his first entrepreneurial endeavor as a teenager, is a committed philanthropist. Our third inductee was instrumental in growing a small utility company into the largest investor-owned gas and electric distribution utility in Canada. Stan Marshall is a passionate Newfoundlander and ambassador for the province. He is an outstanding mentor, empowering leaders and advocating for women's leadership in the energy sector. And our final inductee has led the global expansion of his casualty insurance and reinsurance company, operating in more than 100 countries. But Prem Watsa is most endeared for his value-based corporate culture, his humble leadership, and his focus on the team. Their visionary careers have laid a foundation for entrepreneurs and future leaders. I have also been moved by their family histories, their remarkable stories of personal triumph, change, and resiliency, their deep commitment to family, and their shared passion to not only make an impact through their corporate leadership, but as outstanding citizens and philanthropists. Louis Odette, Jay Hennick, Stanley Marshall, and Prem Watsa have developed new models, embraced change and adversity, breathed life into a variety of businesses, and built dynamic and thriving teams. They have supported economic development and reinforced Canada's competitive position in the global economy. So Louis, Jay, Stan, and Prem, will you please stand? It is my privilege to welcome you as companions of the Order of the Business Hall of Fame. We recognize you for your vision, your leadership, mentorship, and boundless generosity, which has touched so many lives and strengthened our economy and fabric of our communities. Congratulations, and thank you for serving as exceptional examples for all of us and for helping inspire today's youth on their path to become tomorrow's leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. We will now have a 45-minute pause for a main course and dessert, and when we come back, we're going to be shining the spotlight on each of our companions. We will present a tribute video of each inductee, and Jim and a JA student ambassador will present the companions with their official pin and award. And following the companions' acceptance address, I'm excited to lead a very short, brief Q&A moment. Please join me right now in toasting our 45th class of companions. Enjoy your meal and time to connect with so many friends and family tonight. Welcome back, everyone. I hope that everyone's been enjoying the dinner and getting to speak to old colleagues and friends. And a big thank you as well, of course, to MTCC, the team here, for a lovely meal and incredible service. It's not easy to serve everyone so efficiently, so thank you. And it is now time to learn more about our companions and their remarkable stories. We also get to hear from them directly on their keys to success and also their passions. To begin, under his leadership, Louis Audet has successfully taken Cogeco through numerous acquisitions and made bold moves through the rapidly changing world of telecommunications. With Louis' vision and unwavering direction, Cogeco has become a leading North American telecommunications company, delivering high-speed internet, landline telephony, and video service to 1.6 million customers in Quebec, Ontario, and 13 states in eastern USA. This is just a brief view into Louis' many accomplishments. Let's take a look for more.
Louis Audet's spirit of innovation grew from the inspiration of his father, Henri, who forged a telecommunications empire from the roots of a TV station in Trois-Rivières.
He was an engineer from Polytechnique Montreal and a master's from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So he loved technology.
The eldest of 5 siblings, Louis experienced a formative teenage chapter before pursuing an engineering degree from Polytechnique and landing a job at Bell Canada. Continuing his education, Louis earned an MBA from Harvard in 1979 and then returned to Montreal.
So I joined Cable TV Limited in marketing because that's something that I didn't know, but it became clear that the crux of the matter in business is sales.
Louis soon found his path converging with an unintended destiny at his father's company, Cogeco.
One day, my dad phoned and said, Louis, we have a situation where we need your help. We just lost our sales director. Would you replace him? And that was a moment of serious introspection.
He thought he was not ready yet, and I told him, look, you've worked for 2 big companies, and your family business needs your skills. So after a couple of years, he agreed to go to Trois-Rivières.
Louis' guiding star would once again place him on an unexpected path to meet his love, Jocelyn.
We had an open house at the television station. When she came in, there was lightning. I was struck.
Louis se présente à moi et il me fait débuter mon curriculum vitae, sans doute pour s'assurer que je répondais à tous ces critères.
But eventually, I mellowed down and we had our first date.
Et Louis et moi avons commencé au bas de l'échelle, avec des dettes d'études importantes. Chacun travaillait rigoureusement dans son domaine. Louis dans l'entreprise familiale et moi en relations publiques. Ce fut donc toute une aventure pour nous de s'adapter à notre nouvelle vie.
As Cogeco continued to grow, new opportunities began to emerge.
We embarked on a very demanding project, and I spent 2 years looking for financing, and it was extremely painful. So when the Quebec Stock Savings Plan was brought about, we said, okay, enough pleading. Let's take this company public. Let's go.
Under Louis' insightful guidance, Cogeco grew through acquisitions and marked its first major expansion outside of Quebec.
2 big acquisitions in Ontario really changed the company. They were able to buy a cable system from Rogers in Western Ontario, and also another company called Cybermedics, which was a blend of cable and medical labs, which didn't quite fit together.
It's not the biggest company. We all know that. So it has to be much more efficient and judicious in its decisions with respect to the deployment of capital.
It was a pretty gutsy move. Some people thought we were bankrupt, but we weren't. We had to find a partner to buy the medical laboratories, which we did, and we prevailed over all other bidders in this instance.
By 1991, the way the world communicates was about to meet its first major disruption.
Hard to believe for Gen Zs, but at the time, there were only 12 TV channels on cable. The internet was just starting at very slow speed.
We thought we were properly preparing, but when the test arrived, it's clear that we had not. So we went through that transition.
His steadfast focus on where he's going and his sense of direction. He's guided the company through many storms, and this is very impressive.
By 1994, we had our first high-speed internet demonstration over cable as compared to dial-up lines. So you could see the picture on cable appear immediately, and the dial-up would fill in line by line. And in fact, we were the first in Canada to actually demonstrate the feasibility of that.
Henri retired in 1994 as Cogeco continued to acquire cable systems throughout Quebec and Ontario. By 2001, the playing field changed once more.
Hundreds of small cable companies disappeared and were absorbed by bigger ones.
You can see that around 2001, there will soon not be any acquisition opportunities in Canada. What do we do now? And the decision was then, as it is today, we continue building the business we know best by acquiring other cable systems.
Cogeco entered the U.S. cable market, acquiring Atlantic Broadband.
When the company first embarked on that, there was a fair degree of skepticism, let's say. Didn't take long before there were a lot of kudos being thrown around.
His resilience is quite remarkable to find opportunities and then be persistent in cultivating the owners of those companies and to surround himself with people who would be better than him, let's say in finance or in technology or marketing.
Louis donne le meilleur de lui-même, faisant en sorte que la famille Cogeco puisse toujours évoluer et grandir. Nous préparons aussi notre fille Émilie pour qu'elle soit outillée et qu'elle puisse œuvrer comme gardienne de Cogeco et de la famille.
The passage of the baton rests essentially on discipline, and both parties have to remember that it's not about them as individuals, it's about the company. And this is the fundamental ingredient to passing the baton.
As Louis steered Cogeco through waves of innovation and expansion, his compass was equally aligned towards enriching the community.
Louis is a leader not just in what he said and what he's done, but by his very example. He already had in his heart to work on this cause of trying to help people in the depths of distress to try to get on a better line towards the places they always intended to go and not where they were.
We have a very sophisticated safety net in Canada, except there are people who fall through the holes in the safety net. And to me, this is where we can make a difference. This is the last frontier.
And he is emptying his jar of political capital to try to convince people that this should be their cause too. To say, you're not funding the status quo, you're funding it getting better. Housing projects, prevention projects, health projects, projects to make the plight of these people better in the future. We're so lucky that he's been born here, that he's put his excessive amounts of talent to work for our province and our country, and we should be nothing less than profoundly proud of Louis Audet.
Please welcome Louis Audet, inductee as companion to the Order of the Canadian Business Hall of Fame.
Before I go any further, I'd like to say I really loved the time I was washing dishes in Jasper. So, distinguished co-honorees, dear friends, good evening. I'm touched to be recognized in the company of inductees such as Jay Hennick, Stanley Marshall, and Prem Watsaw. All three of them have built formidable enterprises, to be sure. Also wish to thank the Canadian Business Hall of Fame for including me in this year's graduates. A special thanks to all of you for attending this dinner in support of the mission of junior achievement. During the last 43 years, I've had the immense privilege to join my father and help him realize his dream, which eventually became my dream. In growing the business, I've discovered abilities and interests that otherwise would probably not have manifested themselves. Let's call it 43 years of building Cogeco and of Cogeco shaping me in return. Hence, the following acknowledgements. For Cogeco to reach this point in time, many generations will have had to conjugate their efforts in the course of the last 67 years. It will have been necessary for our father Henri and our mother Marie to sell their business, to sell their house, to invest in the business. A courageous gesture by any standard. They will have had to transmit their personal values, not so much by telling, but much more so through example. It will have taken a judicious confidant, an advisor, my wife of 41 years, Jocelyn, and our daughter, Emily, who has brought happiness, energy, and visibility on the stewardship of Cogeco for years to come. There will have had to be my generous sisters and brothers, François, Denise, Bernard, and Geneviève, who are with us tonight and who have maintained their unquestioned support in good times and in hard times, with the Audet family sticking together. And there will have been generations and a great number of staff members, members of management, members of the board of directors, devoted advisors, all of them mindful of and serving our customers on the front lines. There will have been the support of our public shareholders and the trust of our 1,600,000 telecom customers and our 5 million radio listeners. And there will have had to be the warm welcome of the communities we have the privilege to serve and the duty to support socially, some 1,600 of them across North America. Dear friends, it is all these builders that through me you are recognizing tonight. They have tirelessly worked at building Cogeco, relaying one another across decades to make it what it is today and what it will become tomorrow. My family and I thank them profusely for the unfathomable contribution. As I think about Canada, I realize that we are fortunate to enjoy social peace. Amongst other factors, this is a direct result of our wealth redistribution system. It is, and it should be, an object of pride because it puts us in a special category alongside the Scandinavian countries. Yet, the increase in the capital gains tax that was announced in the last federal budget is not helpful. This measure is counterproductive to the increase in investment, innovation, and productivity, which are badly needed in our country, as recognized by the OECD reports. Other support initiatives. Thank you. Other support initiatives were in that budget, but as we all know, government programs are not and cannot be substitute for private capital investment. I'd like to add that it's a regrettable sign of the times that parliamentarians of all stripes have abdicated their responsibility in this matter. The budgetary measure also further complicates the intergenerational transfer of control of family enterprises as we seek to keep them in Canada as much as we can. Canadian investors have supported and will support a generous and progressive social agenda. But let us recognize that there are better ways to pursue that agenda than to retroactively penalize these investors. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your support. Enjoy the evening.
Louis, thank you very much for your comments and congratulations.
Thank you.
You spoke in your video about bringing your daughter Emily into the business and how it's so key and critical to have discipline in order to successfully pass the baton. Is it different in terms of discipline dealing and being with a family member, and how is that balance going?
That's an excellent question. I reported to my dad for many years. Emily does not report directly to me, so it's playing out a bit differently. But the ingredients are the same. It's about self-discipline. It's not about discipline being imposed. It's about self-discipline, where each member of the family is able to interface with the other member in a disciplined manner, and where each one of the two recognize that it's not about their preferences or what they would like or how good they would like to feel, but it's about the company. And I've seen many family companies come apart because of that lack of self-discipline, you know.
And how's the balance working?
Well, the balance, actually, it's easier for us because we're not reporting directly, is working very well. So I'm extremely pleased with that.
Wonderful to hear. You were also very giving of your time to a number of boards, and one in particular that I think you're very passionate about and would like to discuss a little bit is the Institute for Governance for Private and Public Companies. Can you speak to us a little bit about why that area?
Sure. So this is an institute that was started by the HEC, Hautes Études Commerciales Montréal, the John Molson School of Business, Jaroslavsky Fraser, and la Caisse de dépôt et de placement du Québec. And basically, this is an institute about analyzing governance trends, being able to advise business and public and government enterprises about what makes sense and what perhaps is just a fad that should not be considered. And that's important because these days there are all sorts of recipes that are being brought about, but some form of common sense has to be brought to them through careful analysis and sound decision-making by a board of directors or committees of the Institute that do that. The Institute is, amongst other things, committed to the importance of family-controlled businesses. They've just come out with an important study last fall, which was a complete review of the literature on the subject of why, to what degree and why family businesses, family-controlled businesses, over the long term are more profitable than non-controlled enterprises by a significant amount. So there's that. Also a review of the social and environmental considerations, demonstrating that they are equal or better. So the only factor on which businesses were family controlled were less on top of it was governance. But this is absurd because evaluating governance of family companies based on abstract principles is not helpful because these are arbitrary criterion, right? If family businesses are successful, it is precisely because of their unique style of governance. So the Institute is playing a very important role in that regard, and one that I think we should all support.
Are you seeing it being broadened out enough to what you would like to see?
Thank you for asking the question. We need more supporters, more adepts, more contributors. This started in Quebec. It has to expand and become a force outside of Quebec if we want to be able to have a national influence on the thinking in capital markets.
That sounds like it. Louis, thank you very much and congratulations. Wonderful to be with you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Pleasure. Appreciate it.
Our second companion has been an entrepreneur since the age of 17 when he started his own business with a little capital and a ton of drive. That drive and vision has been ever present and set the course for growth and expansion, becoming a global leader in property management. And this is just one part of Jay Hennick's story. Let's take a look.
I come from Bathurst Manor, a working-class area north of Toronto. My father owned a jewelry store an hour away from our home. He worked very hard and long hours, and times were tough for our family in those days.
Embracing his father's ethos of hard work, Jay noticed an opportunity for entrepreneurship while working a summer job as a lifeguard.
I started my first company when I was 17, supplying lifeguards to apartments, hotels, and condominiums. I needed the startup capital and I had to go to my dad. I can still see him counting the hard-earned cash, one bill at a time, to give me what I needed.
Jay pursued an arts degree before entering the Faculty of Law at the University of Ottawa, crafting a path for his entrepreneurial spirit and ambition.
We met in 1978. He was at law school and I was in Toronto finishing my degree. I found him to be very mature beyond his years, dependable and reliable and good-looking too.
We share similar values and beliefs, particularly when it comes to our family.
We always emphasized to the kids as they were growing up to be humble, straightforward, and to maintain their relationships with the highest integrity.
For me, she has always been my go-to person, my trusted advisor, my confidant, my sounding board on virtually everything. Marrying Barb was the best decision I ever made.
Jay landed a job at Fogler Rubinoff. His drive and innovative spirit fueled a swift rise, making partner in just 4 years.
Practicing law taught me so many great things. How to handle myself in a professional environment, how to buy and sell companies. It was a great way to gain first-hand experience from some of the great business leaders. I was practicing with other people's money, and I loved every minute of it.
I met Jay almost 40 years ago, and there was this handsome young guy, very well dressed, sitting behind a big mahogany desk and not a paper on it. And I thought to myself immediately, well, either this fellow is useless or he's a genius who's very well organized. And within about 5 minutes, I realized it wasn't that he was useless. He was an entrepreneur dressed up like a lawyer.
I've been with Jay since 1985. That's when the first mobile phone was created, so a long time ago, right? Jay's entrepreneurial spirit was very evident to me then. The law practice was all about working with clients. He wanted to be the client.
After a time, I got the itch to build a company of my own.
He and I were having breakfast, and he started to describe to me this vision of creating a major service company.
I found I could buy well-managed service businesses at attractive prices and then work with the management teams to build them from there.
And he created an empire from essential services business centered around real estate.
Jay had a very clear and compelling vision for what First Service could become. In the early days, it was a hard-driving, exciting culture. Jay set the tone with his work ethic, and we all followed. And by the way, it's still hard-driving and exciting times.
He really believes in the partnership model, which enables and assists entrepreneurs to achieve their goals by being their active investment partner.
First Service became the controlling shareholder of Colliers International, with the power and authority to operate the business as one global player, the third largest in the world.
Colliers was not a strong brand, it was struggling. And Jay saw that in 2004. He saw the opportunity.
When they purchased the affiliates, it became more of a global company.
By 2015, First Service was thriving. However, it became clear that if we wanted to continue growing at the same pace, we had to split our company and go in different directions.
And it would allow shareholders to pick between this very steady Eddie growth engine called First Service and the more transaction-driven Colliers.
It isn't just that Jay has built a very successful business in the real estate space. He is increasingly redefining that space.
Philanthropically, Jay and Barb, they want to make an impact. Jay served as the chair of Sinai Health and orchestrated the merger of then Bridgepoint and Sinai to create Sinai Health.
It's the largest complex care and rehabilitation hospital in Canada. The other institution which we are very involved in is the Royal Ontario Museum.
This institution is truly world-class, and it serves as a symbol of wonder and knowledge to people in our province and to visitors to our city.
He has become wealthy and successful by steady success year after year after year.
Over 30 years ago, he started First Service with one acquisition, and today Colliers and First Service together are worth over $17 billion.
If you have a vision and you have the wherewithal to execute it and the patience, it is amazing how far you can go just as a pool cleaner from the GTA, which is what Jay was.
Please welcome Jay Hennick, inductee as companion to the Order of the Canadian Business Hall of Fame.
Nice to be up here. Thank you, Canadian Business Hall of Fame and JA Canada, for this incredible honor. And congratulations to my fellow inductees. Your accomplishments have really inspired all of us. And for me, it's a special privilege to be recognized alongside my friend Prem Watsa, a true legend in the investment community. I'd like to begin today by extending my deepest gratitude to my wife, Barbara, and our incredible family, whose unwavering encouragement, support, and love truly motivates me every day. You know, creating exceptional companies is no small feat. It involves cultivating a unique culture that can stand the test of time, and then ensuring that everyone is aligned with that core purpose and vision for the future. I'm deeply grateful for the invaluable contributions of our partners, our business leaders, our board of directors, and more than 60,000 employees who have demonstrated relentless dedication and commitment over many years. It's through their efforts that we've been able to craft the truly remarkable success stories of Colliers and First Service. Tonight, you saw a brief glimpse of my almost 50-year career in 5 short minutes. Yet the true value lies in the lessons learned, experiences that might resonate with those that are pursuing their own paths to success. Here are 5 principles that continue to guide me. The first is imagination. As Albert Einstein famously said, imagination is more important than knowledge. What he really means is that you must strive to do something better. Don't get sidetracked by listening to naysayers or self-professed experts. Gather as much information as you need to make a decision and then make things happen. The entrepreneurial spirit thrives on innovation and the fortitude and courage to defy convention. The second principle is education, another vital cornerstone. In fact, I think education goes far beyond formal schooling in university or college. It includes on-the-job learning, discovering the interpersonal skills and disciplines you need to navigate in the real world. Taking the time to practice and to build your confidence is another essential ingredient of success. The third is hard work. It's simply non-negotiable. To excel in a highly competitive environment, you must embody values like integrity, perseverance, and self-initiative in absolutely everything you do. But you also must work smart, maximizing your productivity while minimizing your effort, which is not really an easy task. The fourth principle is dealing with adversity. It's an inevitable part of life. Whether you've faced difficulties during your upbringing, health challenges, or other hardships, overcoming them is crucial. Learn how to embrace setbacks with positivity and resilience. There's an old Japanese proverb that says, if you fall down 7 times, get up 8. Each time you rise, you grow stronger. And finally, let me talk a little bit about luck. It's more important than you think. I'm grateful for the support of my family, as I mentioned, and the privilege of being born in our extraordinary country, a bastion of freedom and opportunity for all. The Canadian dream is alive and well and enriches every single person in this room and our families and the rest of the people that we're associated with. Thank you. But luck is not solely only about chance. It's also about actively shaping your destiny, taking bold actions, and seizing key moments that have the power to shape our lives for the future. I'm profoundly grateful for these lessons learned, the relationships I've made over many years, and the unwavering dedication that drives me forward. I urge everyone to embrace these principles as you pursue your own aspirations. Approach them with integrity, with determination, and with fervor. And if you do, I'm confident that you'll find success and fulfillment in your own journey. Once again, thank you for this esteemed honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay, for those wonderful comments and great advice. I always have a pen, but I didn't tonight. I hope we can get those 5 pieces of advice somewhere.
You don't need the advice.
Well, I think we all do. It's great to hear. It was mentioned in your video that that you saw opportunity with Colliers. And I think it's always so important many people see opportunity, but they don't necessarily seize it. You did. Why was that? And what is it about seeing an opportunity and seizing it that you see versus others?
Well, I think finding opportunity is more difficult than you think. People generally think about buying a business or creating a business, and you look traditionally at the numbers and the growth and the competition and the quality of management. I think the magic, and it's an art more than a science, the magic is determining whether you can grow that business over the long term. And you can balance the risks and opportunities. And so when you refer to Colliers, when we first bought Colliers, it was about a $150 million business. It had modest operations in Canada and in the United States and in Asia Pacific, which was very interesting to us. But the industry was massive, and we thought that because of the structure of Colliers, we could build one of the global leaders in the real estate space. And today, almost 20 years later, it is a business that generates about $5 billion US. It's the number 3 player in the world. It has operations in 65 countries around the world. So we're very proud of that. But it was a long-term process. And it took a lot of execution and a lot of great people to make it happen over the years.
And just as a follow-up, what was it about, you mentioned the word structure. You thought that the structure would lead to growth. What was it specifically with the setup of the company that made you believe that?
It was essentially a franchise system. So the opportunity for us was to consolidate other countries around the world and bring them all together as one company-owned operation, which is what we did.
And when you look at other parts of your life, you mentioned the importance of community. You and your wife, Barbara, are so involved in the community, arts and health. Why is that so important to you? And what about choosing those specific areas? I think as a lot of people think about what they want to spend their time doing. How did you go about that thinking?
Well, again, I think there's so many wonderful charities out there, and picking them is really a personal thing at the end of the day. Barb and I got involved early with Mount Sinai Hospital. Barb helped raise money for the auxiliary and ultimately became the president of the auxiliary. I joined the board of directors and worked closely with Mount Sinai. And so healthcare was an important element for us. And as time went on, we became very interested in helping young people, deserving young people with scholarships. And we've given away millions of dollars now through 2 or 3 universities in Canada, through the Horatio Alger Organization of Canada, and now through JA. And we're very excited about helping young people. We think that is the power of the next generation. And if we can help people that can't otherwise get there, it's a great thing. And as Barb mentioned in the video, we recently made a very large donation to the Royal Ontario Museum. The museum is, as you might expect, has been around 100 years. It has an amazing collection. They've collected and curated some of the greatest treasures in the world. And we were captivated by the opportunity to revitalize the ROM, and the work's begun. And so we're very excited about that as well.
Wonderful. Jay, congratulations. Thank you for being with us tonight. And again, congratulations.
Okay.
Thank you. Our third companion this evening hails proudly from Newfoundland, where he has made lasting impacts. He transformed a slow-moving local utility company into a strong and thriving consumer-centric hydroelectric provider, serving more than 3 million customers across Canada, the United States, and also the Caribbean. And this is just one part of Stan Marshall's story. Let's take a listen.
I grew up in Newfoundland, just across the bay in a little fishing town of about 200 people. And we were poor, but didn't know it, because everybody in the community was poor. My family came here first as fishermen in the 1600s, and I can trace my family back 8 generations to the same place. My mother in particular was very big on education, pushing education. She hammered away at it, and fortunately, it came very easy to me. In my favorite subjects, the sciences and math, it was never a question whether I'd pass. It was whether I got 100 or 99, right?
Stan went on to attend Memorial University in St. John's.
After the first year, I decided I need to leave this place. It wasn't challenging enough for me. It didn't have an engineering program, and you eventually had to leave anyway. But it was too late to apply to another university, so I did my second year there. In my second year, Bet came in, and well, she was a very attractive girl. I couldn't resist.
He's a great listener and a great talker, and we just clicked. You just knew that he was the one.
Love blossoming, Stan kept his focus on education, even if it meant a departure from Memorial and his future wife.
Back then, they didn't have a full engineering program, so I knew I had to go away. I was going to go to McGill, and a new dean of engineering had come in, and he said, no, you should go to Waterloo.
Stan earned his applied science degree in chemical engineering and went on to study law at Dalhousie.
So when I graduated from law school, they just discovered Hibernia in Newfoundland. I came over here to see what was on the go, and I got a job right away with the utility. So the opportunity was happening here right at the time.
Timely and fortuitous, Stan's extensive education put him in a unique position at Newfoundland Power.
I went there to do basic legal work, but also regulatory work. And very quickly it became almost full-time regulatory. In the regulatory hearings, you got to know about everything that's going on in the company. So after 3 or 4 years, I knew as much about the company as all the executives. And that led to, rapid promotions.
Newfoundland Power in the early 80s was a slow-going, stodgy utility. Shortly after that, it went through massive change. So all of a sudden, we're taking this small utility and transforming it now to be a consumer-centric utility. Hence, Post that came Fortis.
Growing through acquisitions, the Fortis family soon included telecommunications, buildings, savings and loans, and utilities in Prince Edward Island, Ontario, Alberta, and British Columbia.
When we acquired a company, I would go in. Like Maritime Electric, I became the CEO for a year. And I want to make sure they had the right culture in place, the right people in place. You know, I work with people, but then I empowered them and left them alone.
Stan particularly wasn't big on policies and procedures. It was all rooted in values. This was about keeping these utilities local and having them a part of the communities that they served and to give back.
He was really about trying to give people room to do their jobs, but at the same point he was supportive.
We were talking about advancing women before it was cool. We have over 50% of the executives female. When I look at our talent pipeline, over 50% are female. And that doesn't happen overnight, that takes time. And it started back in Stan's day.
As the Fortis footprint continued to flourish, Stan found an opportunity to extend their reach even further.
I noticed that Belize was looking at somebody investing in their utility.
He loved Belize. The people are very friendly. It's a close-knit community. It's the tropical version of Newfoundland.
Fortis came in and developed our hydro resources to the fullest. We went from generating 100% of our electricity through diesel to generating 65% with renewable resources, and we were down to like only 5% for fossil fuels. I mean, as we were doing it, we didn't realize how huge that is, but now look at what is happening today, and Belize is one of the leaders in terms of reducing its carbon footprint. Stan believes in people development. Only about 20% of our kids get a tertiary education.
So I sponsored a scholarship for the kids of Belize, and I became interested in making sure that the kids from Belize were given an opportunity to come to Newfoundland. Because Newfoundland, while it's climatically very much different than Belize, culturally it's very same.
The young people are just looking for opportunity, which is what Stan is saying. You got to give people that opportunity to develop themselves.
Out of that support, there's been a large number of Belizeans, and I'm gone back 20-odd years, but even today, there's something like 40 Belizean students here right now. And Belize is only a small country. And that is in no small part to the support that Stan drove about getting education.
By 2014, Fortis had soared to over $26 billion in assets, serving more than 3 million customers across North America and the Caribbean. With strong leadership in place, Stan chose this moment to retire.
My wife said to me, don't do anything for a year. I went to my place in Belize and tried to get my boat in the water. Then the Premier of Newfoundland phoned. The Muskrat Falls project was in trouble. And he said, Stan, can you come and help me out here?
We had a forensic audit. We had a public inquiry. We had the Auditor General in. We had a public utility review. All these things happened while we were trying to deliver the project. What I admire about Stan's leadership is he sees things differently than most people see them. He could see that we didn't have one multi-billion-dollar hydroelectric development project. We had two. But he was astute enough to say, well, having one leadership team over all of this was too much, so he wanted more leadership on it by bifurcating the project.
Stan successfully restructured the project, bringing all of the major components into operation by 2021.
I was here for over 5 years. What I learned is that I don't really like boards. It's too much talk. What I liked was being boss.
For as much as I believe he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame for coming out of retirement and taking on Muskrat Falls and Nalcor Energy, I truly believe that what's probably his greatest accomplishment is how he prioritizes growing leaders. Nobody has had the impact on my career like Stan, and I say that from the bottom of my heart.
He's a brilliant leader, and I would say he's a visionary. When I think about the creation of Fortis and the growth of Fortis that was really under his watch, it's quite amazing.
Please welcome Stanley Marshall, inductee as companion to the Order of the Canadian Business Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Junior Achievement and the Canadian Business Hall of Fame, for recognizing me this evening, and congratulations to the other inductees. In my career, I've been very fortunate to have the support of very many talented and dedicated people. You have seen some of them in the video, but there are many others. Some are here this evening, and I want to thank them all. I recognize a lot of familiar faces from Fortis here this evening, and I can always rely on your support. You'll always be remembered, especially as you nominated for me for this reward without my knowledge or consent. One person who saw in the video and is here this evening with our 3 children and their spouses has been my strongest supporter and confidant for over 50 years. And while I was busy growing Fortis, my lovely wife Beth was pursuing her own career in the Newfoundland Public Service, rising to become the first female deputy minister in the province, running some of the largest departments. She went on to serve a full term as the province's Auditor General, after which she was elected to the provincial legislature and served as the Minister of Health. After completing almost 2 terms in the provincial legislature, she was appointed to the Senate of Canada and served as the government whip for several years. She continues to serve in the Senate as a member of the Conservative Caucus and is very much involved in the Banking Committee and the Finance Committee. I don't want you to think that I've been retired to a rocking chair being supported by my wife. So I'll indicate that for the last 4 years, I've been a director at Trans Mountain Corporation and chair a committee overseeing the construction of the oil pipeline expansion project. That's that little $30 billion pipeline out west that went into service a few weeks ago. The pay isn't great. The pay isn't great, but man, it's been interesting. So is there a lesson in all this for the young junior achievers out there? I think there are a couple, actually. First, it's possible for a couple to successfully pursue separate, challenging careers while raising a family. It's certainly not easy. It's certainly not easy, but probably would require something more than $10 a day daycare. Secondly, if you become extremely successful and envisage retiring in your 50s or early 60s, beware. You may yet be a complete failure in retirement and continue to work well into your 70s. Finally, a note for all of us. In business, success may be seen in the strength of our earnings, but in life, success is seen in the strength of our relationships. Thank you all, and hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Congratulations, Stan, and thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. It is evident in your video that you are very favorable towards education, the importance of it. I'm wondering what type of advice you would have for some of the students here and others as it relates to their post-secondary education and, of course, their career path.
Well, you know, education can be and should be the path to a rewarding career and a very enjoyable and fulfilling life. And it certainly has been for me. It's also the great equalizer. Irrespective of your background, it means that you can go forward in this life. Mm-hmm. It's important, I think, that in pursuing your education and career, that you do something that you not only are capable of, but have a particular interest in. If you're not interested, you won't be good at it. Mm-hmm. If you're not good at it, you'll never really be happy. You're better off being a good plumber than a bad doctor. And certainly your prospective patients will be. But so if you're, and particularly if you're interested in management, I think you should pursue a more general education. You don't have to be very highly specialized for early in your career. And if you're doing a second degree, and you've noticed a lot of the inductees here have 2 degrees, I think all of us have 2 degrees, that your second degree should be something different than your first one. If your first one is engineering, do something different. Don't do another master's degree in engineering, unless, of course, you want to be a specialist. Right. But I'm talking about management. So, it's, and the other thing, you might want to think about going to a different institution as well. I think everybody's gone to a different institution for a second degree. So, I think those are the key ingredients. Mm-hmm. But Yeah, one final thing, and I've had this personal experience with some young people who've come to work for us. Don't be afraid to change if you find that this is not what you want to do. You know, particularly in your 20s, be open to change. I know I had one young fellow who came to work for me with an MBA, and he was with me several years. This early days of Fortis. And after several years, he came to me and said, you know, I always wanted to be a doctor. He said, but I couldn't get into medical school. He said, finally, so I went and did an MBA, and I came to work here, I'm enjoying it. But he said, I've just been accepted to medical school, what should I do? I said, you know, you should follow your dream. One of the worst things in life is to have a regret that you should have done something. I didn't. So he did, and 15 years later, in the Air Canada Lounge, he came in, and he introduced himself. He had a beard, I didn't recognize him. And I said, how'd you make out? He said, well, I completed medical school, I became a psychiatrist. And see, that's what I'm doing these days. I said, you know, you would have made a lot more money if you stayed with me. and he said, yeah, I recognize that. But he said, you know, I made the right decision. So don't be afraid to change.
Right. And that seems to be your message as well, to follow your dreams.
Absolutely.
It was also interesting in your video to see how you embody a team environment and really empower people. I'm sure that's part of the success of your companies. What is it about your leadership style, and how would you describe your leadership style?
Well, you know, in my days as CEO of Fortis, I considered all the people who work for me as leaders in their own right. And I owed them the trust and respect that I expected of them. And we came to share the same vision and culture. And, you know, that enabled me to implement a very lean, highly delegated structure with a very small head office. And that's the way I liked it. You know, all companies eventually become bureaucracies. I hate bureaucracy, hate it. But, you know, that's life. And, but, you know, leaders are sort of like black holes in astronomy. You know, you can't observe them directly. You best judge them by observing their influence on those around them. And that's the way I want to be judged, by the people who are around me.
And I think that's been the case. Congratulations, Stan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And our fourth companion this evening has advanced his business through strategic acquisitions and contrarian investing, becoming a global leader in the insurance and casualty reinsurance industry. However, there is nothing contrarian in the way he works with people. This is just a brief glimpse into Prem Watsa. Let's see more.
A luminary in the world of finance and investment, Prem Watsa grew up cherishing the values of hard work and education.
All my values come from India. My dad was a hard worker, great athlete, and became the vice principal of a really good school.
It was called the Hyderabad Public School. The school started for princes and things, so it's a really, really good school.
I'd never be able to go to that school other than my dad was vice principal.
Guided by his father's influence, Prem pursued chemical engineering at the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology. It was here that he met his future wife, Nalini.
He was really handsome. Didn't know where it's going, but we met a few times, and when we knew we loved each other, he immediately told my mother that he wanted to marry me, which is not done these days.
Diploma in hand and recently engaged, Prem took a giant leap, moving halfway around the world to attend Western University. His 3-year plan: earn his MBA, establish a home in Canada, and save money to get married.
But after a year, because he can hustle and he did some odd jobs selling air conditioners, he said, I made enough money, so why don't we get married a year earlier? And as soon as I came, we got married here. My grandmother had great foresight, and she whispered to me before I left, she said, remember, this is the boy the family will depend on. And that was a strange statement when I knew that he was penniless. So I didn't know what she meant. But now I know.
Prem's career ignited when he landed his first job at Confederation Life.
So I'm called for the second interview. There were 4 of us called. Later on, I found out of the 4, I was the only guy who showed up. That changed my life. My boss was John Watson. He introduced me to value investing, he introduced me to Ben Graham, and it was the road to Damascus.
A trucking insurance company caught his attention. The small public company was facing financial difficulty, and Prem saw opportunity. He orchestrated a complex acquisition, but the clock was ticking, and Prem was still millions short.
Then it struck me, one last call. Maybe a company I worked for 9 years, they might lend me the money. They said yes. And then we had control of a company. I'm 35 years old. I've never been on a board. I've never been CEO. I don't know what a CEO does. And suddenly I'm CEO of this company.
And the name itself, Fairfax, is interesting. It was coined by a secretary when very on in the first year, well, she suggested that it would be Fair and Friendly Acquisitions. From that came the acronym Fairfax.
And that's how our name began, just like that. And we bought the first 100 shares that traded under the name Fairfax for Brenda Adams, our secretary, and we put it in a frame so she couldn't sell it. By the time she retired, she was a very happy lady.
Prem's investment philosophy was heavily influenced by his interactions with renowned investors like John Templeton and Warren Buffett. His focus on value investing became a hallmark of his strategy.
Canadian Warren Buffett, they refer to you as.
I say that and $10 will get you a cup of coffee.
Prem and the Hambla Watson team are value investors. In everything they buy, they have to see value.
John Templeton was my mentor. He had this beautiful saying that when a stock price goes down 50%, you should ask yourself, why are you not buying it? If it goes up 50%, why are you not selling it? Value investing is very simply recognizing that when you buy something, the price that you pay is very important. It's contrarian. It's going against the crowd.
He could buy these properties at a discount to their book value, which oftentimes is one of the characteristics of value investing, where you buy companies that are out of favor.
As Fairfax grew through acquisitions, Prem's principled approach became the unifying fabric, integrating diverse companies into a cohesive and values-driven Fairfax family.
It's all about the team. The job of the leader is to create an environment where each of the members of the team can contribute to the very limits of their talent. And guess what happens in that kind of environment? The talents expand.
Prem is one of the friendliest people I've ever met. When you talk to him, he cares more about you. You know, he's not talking about himself. He always has your back. He's your biggest cheerleader.
Two of my investment guys have been with me for almost 50 years. Johnny Manal was our chief financial officer, been with us to this day. Rick Salzberg. We never made any decision without Rick Salzberg. Because Fairfax is a team sport. President Reagan had this rule that anything in the world is possible if you don't care who gets the credit.
Today, Fairfax stands as a testament to Prem's vision, strategy, and ethics.
Fairfax has had a policy for many, many years that each of its companies are expected to donate 1% of pre-tax profits to charity. Several years ago, Prem decided to make that 2%.
Prem has been an absolutely incredible contributor to the success of SickKids. When you hear him speak about the work that they're doing at the Investment and Pension Committee and what that means in making the lives of our children better while they're going through treatment. And it's just so inspiring and really is another reason to say what a fantastic Canadian Prem is.
It's terrific to see that one can do extremely well in business and at the same time be extraordinarily thoughtful citizens of the country or the neighborhoods in which you operate.
Please welcome Prem Watsa, inductee as companion to the Order of the Canadian Business Hall of Fame.
So good evening, my friends. I wanted to begin by thanking the Canadian Business Hall of Fame and Junior Achievements, especially Chancellor Janice Fukaza, and incoming Chancellor Jim Leach for this great honor. And I congratulate my fellow recipients who you've just heard. Beautiful, amazing stories. Fairfax and myself are very grateful to be inducted into the Canadian Business Hall of Fame, and I'm accepting this on behalf of our team. It's a team sport, as I said, and I'm accepting this on their behalf. Fairfax is a Canadian story. It is an immigrant story, an immigrant who was welcomed into this country. It's a great country over 52 years ago. I had no money, never bought a stock before, never knew anyone in business because my father was a teacher, an educator, who ultimately became the principal of a very good school in India. My 3 siblings and myself are blessed to have 2 wonderful parents. So 52 years ago, I never in my wildest imagination thought I would be standing here in front of you and making a few comments. When we took control of Fairfax 38 years ago in 1985, it was a small public company listed in Toronto, never made $1 million in its history. Last year, Fairfax made US $4.4 billion. Our stock price in 1985 was $3.23. Today, it's $1,550, almost 500 times what it was 38 years ago. And I'm shocked to say that. Why were we successful? Because lots of people helped me along the way. And this is my great opportunity to thank many of them. Firstly, I wanted to say, like many of my colleagues have said here, I've been married to my wife, Nalini, for 51 years. I would not be here if not for her. We have 3 healthy, hardworking children, Ben, Christine, and Stephanie, and my daughter-in-law, Molly, and son-in-law, Quinn, and 5 grandchildren, 2 of whom are here tonight, Chloe and Logan. I'm going to give them a nice round of applause, Chloe. We are really thankful to the good Lord for all of these blessings. I'm also very thankful for my extended family, my brother David and his wife Margaret, who sponsored me to Canada in 1972, my sisters Krupa and Navo, and my brother-in-law Ravi, and their children and grandchildren. My family and extended family, we've been very, very fortunate. Of course, as I said earlier, this is a Canadian story, a country built on the free enterprise system that allows companies like ours to prosper. All 4 of us today have had that experience. My life changed when John Watson and Jim Martin offered me a job in Toronto at Confederation Life as an investment analyst. John introduced me to Ben Graham and value investing. As I said in the video, my road to Damascus had begun. I asked my wife Nalini if we had a son, could we name him Ben? She agreed. We had a son, and that is how Ben got his name. And Ben today is a great long-term value investor. A big thank you to John and Jim who are here tonight. John and Jim. 9 years later, life changed when Tony Arrell offered me a job at Gardner Watson, a small investment broker in Toronto. I had become a vice president at Confederation Life, and Nalini agreed that I should accept this job with no salary guarantee, little bit of a risk with 3 children. If she said no, I would not have taken it. But it was there that Francis Chu introduced me to the concept of float, big strength of an insurance company, which I didn't know about till Francis told me. And Tony and Francis are here tonight. But when we began, we always wanted to build a good company, one based on guiding principles that emphasized honesty and integrity, like my friend Jay Hennick said, in business and in building a business over the long term. We were focused on the long term, not on quarterly profits. Our culture was based very simply on the golden rule: treat people like you want to be treated yourself. Simple. Now, I have been fortunate to have an outstanding team that I've worked with all these years. Our Fairfax officers, our presidents of our decentralized operations, Hamlin Watson Investment Partners, and our directors. I wanted to particularly thank Andy Bernard, who's right here, who runs our insurance business, and Peter Clark, our president, who was in the video, who's been with us, both of them been with us about 30 years. Roger Lace, Brian Bradstein, and I have worked together in the investment business for almost 50 years. Quite extraordinary. I also wanted to thank our lead director, Bill McFarland, for his dedication to Fairfax. I am being blessed also with two executive assistants, Pat Hughes and Regina, and I do want to take this opportunity to recognize this team and give them a nice round of applause, if you don't mind. Finally, I want to dedicate this award to my business partner and friend, Rick Salzberg, who passed away 3 weeks ago. Rick was our consigliere, and we never made a decision without his blessing over the past 40 years. He lives on in our culture. His wife, Lynn, and their family are here with us tonight, and I do want to recognize them. Lynn and family, thank you very much. As you heard Andy Bernard say in the video, we have a policy of donating 2% of pre-tax profits to the communities we operate in. Our whole company, when we began, Fairfax was worth less than $2 million in 1985 when we began. Last year, we donated $27 million in all the countries we do business. Cumulatively, we've donated in excess of $315 million. So when a business does well, its customers benefit, its employees benefit, its shareholders benefit, and so do the communities it operates in. Some years ago, I realized governments also benefit from the taxes we pay. We call this doing good by doing well. We never forget that we have to do well first, over the long term, so that we can do good. I think this Chinese proverb reminds us very well. If you want happiness for an hour, take a nap. If you want to have happiness for a day, go fishing. If you want happiness for a year, inherit a fortune. But if you want happiness for a lifetime, go help somebody. I want to end now by acknowledging the many blessings that I've had all my life. Fairfax has been a labor of love for all the leaders of our company. I think of the good Lord owning everything we have, and we're just stewards of what He entrusts us with. I've arranged my affairs so that even after my death, Fairfax will not be subject to a takeover and continue to be a king company operating with our guiding principles. Business has a huge impact, as all my friends have said, huge impact in the world. And with the good Lord's blessing, it has become a calling for me. So let me close with two quotations. One from my dad, who said, "Work as hard as you can, as though it all depended on you. And pray as hard as you can, as though everything depended on God." And finally, let me end with my favorite quote from the Bible. "What profited the man if he gained the whole world but lost his soul?" So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for giving me the honor of speaking to you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, and thank you for your comments and
Thank
words
you,
of
Kathy.
wisdom. It seems from the video and, of course, your comments tonight that teamwork is so key and critical to you, as are quality relationships. Talk to us a little bit about your feelings towards relationships and how you embody them.
That is a very important ingredient of our company. We run a very decentralized operation. So there's only 35 people in our head office, and in our company, there's 20,000 people. So There's 25 companies we have, so we entrust and empower the people who run our companies. And that has to be based on a lot of trust and that you will do the right thing. So we have people Andy's been with us for 30 years. Many of our people have been with us for 25, 30, 35 years. So relationships have been very important in our company.
How is it that you are able to create those relationships? Because, to create trust and create relationships, it takes a lot of trust and consistency. What do you think it is about you that was able to do that?
So, not me so much, but President Reagan has this very simple principle. Anything in the world is possible if you don't care who gets the credit. Most businesses, it's like, I did it, it's my idea. In our company, whatever, as someone said earlier, whatever the best idea is for the company. We don't care if it's your idea, my idea. As long as it's the best idea for the company, we do that.
And was that something you heard many years ago, and that's what you embodied and grew with?
Yeah, that's right, from almost from day one. Because we have a principle in our guiding principles. We don't want people with big egos. You might be very smart, but if you have a big ego, we've learned that that's not the best way to build a good company.
Understood. Speaking of day one, when you came to Canada and were developing and selling air conditioners, how difficult was it at times? Did it get tough, and what did you think?
Well, yeah, yes, it was. It reminded me the simple principle all of these gentlemen have said is never give up. So I had to raise in 1985 $5 million. $2 million from other entrepreneurs who were very successful, no problem doing that. $3 million from a bank. Every bank said no. And I didn't have any alternatives. And I'm in the investment business, and I'm working at Confederation Life, which invests money. But it never struck me, dumb guy that I was, that they would lend money. So I had no other choice. And I give my Jim Martin and John Watson and a fellow by the name of Paul Fink a call. And they say, yeah, no, we'll look at it. Long story short, they lent me the money. And I was able to raise the $5 million, the toughest money I raised. We were able to take control of the company.
Was it a tough pitch, or were they willing to give?
I never thought it was tough. I thought it was so simple. It was easy to understand, and you couldn't go wrong. You couldn't lose money. But on the other side, I was 34 years old, never ran a company, never had any business running a company. I didn't know how a board worked. And so I could understand why banks wouldn't want to lend the money to me. With hindsight, at that time I couldn't, though.
What do you think it was that convinced them?
They just knew me for such a long time, and they trusted me. And we had a 5-year loan. I paid them back in 9 months. And because it was 5 years, you had to pay a fee for breaking that 5 years. And then they got 200 shares of Fairfax at $3.23.
So very happy. And I guess to your point, too, it does go back to relationships. They knew you, they trusted you. So the importance of relationships is key and critical.
It's very, very important. Yeah, like people stay in a company once they know that they can trust you, that you'll do the right thing. So, for example, in COVID-19 took place. We have a lot of presidents, and so I got them all together, and I said, there's one thing, and I rarely say this, I said, there's one thing you can't do. You can't fire anybody, not one single person. Why? Because they can't go and have an interview. They can't get a job. No one's having interviews, right? And so we didn't fire a single person, no salary reductions, no bonus reductions, and we did extremely well. So people will still remember, Catherine, that during COVID, we never laid off people, and This where the people's friends were getting laid off and people's brothers were getting laid off, sisters were getting laid off. We never did that. So you have to have principles, but you have to follow them.
Understood. Prem, congratulations again. Wonderful to speak with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you everyone for being with us tonight. What an incredible evening it has been. And thank you to our incredible 2024 Canadian Business Hall of Fame companions. You certainly, I think, as everybody can hear tonight, very inspirational and so proud to have all of us here in Canada together. And thank you all for your attendance and really supporting CBHF and Junior Achievement Canada. I think you've also heard how impactful the program is and the programs are for so many youth. So at this point, I'd love to invite our companions to join me on the stage for one final round of applause.